What's up, guys? In today's video, we're going to share with you the hidden risks in DeFi. Just because you see an APR that says, hey, look, you can get 1,000% here, 100%, 50%, 10%, it doesn't matter. What are the hidden risks you're taking on when you deposit into that vault or deposit into that money market? Yes, there is a lot of hidden risks into this. In fact, some of my funds actually got stuck on one of these money market protocols. In particular, it was called Scream Finance. This is a money market that is a fork of Compound, and this is how I lost over 40K because there is a bunch of bad debt in the system. As you can see here, if you go on Scream, there's 23 ETH right here, and I can't withdraw out of this. Why? Because there is no liquidity. Zero liquidity here, zero in Bitcoin. There's like no USDT. And really you have a little bit of link. However, they did pause the borrows. So if you simply wanted to come over here and say, hey, I want to go ahead and borrow some USDC, it will not allow you to do this. Why is that? Well, because you hit max and there's no USDC liquidity. So how about we select something that's like DAY, or we select something that's like DOLA? Well, let's take a look at DOLA, which is a stable coin that's also on Phantom. Probably lost its peg. Select max, hit borrow, and then you get a gas error. It's because the borrowing is paused. So basically the funds that are in this contract are locked and basically gone forever. And this here kind of explains how there was loss. But basically, TLDR in this article, what they did is they pegged and hard-coded DAY to $1. When DAY lost its peg, there was a lot of bad debt in the system, and it caused some of the depositors unable to withdraw their tokens. As we go throughout this video, you'll notice that a lot of these money markets have somewhat of similar issues. They either hard code a peg for one of the tokens, there is oracle manipulation, or there's some form of exploit by using a flash loan in order to manipulate the price feeds to make the protocol think you're depositing more than you're really depositing. Now, with the funds that I deposited on Scream, I was actually chasing one of the APRs, and I was assuming, hey, look, it's probably going to get more liquidity. So I was chasing the yields, one. Two, I really wasn't paying attention and analyzing the actual risk. Yes, I did understand it was a risk, but did I really think it would happen? Probably not. So what happened is, well, they got stuck chasing yields. The yields was about 124%, but now it's zero because they shut down the yields as well as shut down the amount of liquidity that you can get out. If you go over to Scream, it's now just V2. So basically V1 is on the back burner. And this is common with a lot of these DeFi protocols. If they get exploited, then they kind of just like close up shop and move on or make a new protocol. It's almost similar to how we have it in the real world. If a business goes bust or it's actually underwater, it's better to just go bankrupt and start a new company. So now let's take a look at another example. I'm going to show you the protocol so you guys can see what's up, but if you look on the Ethereum markets, the total supply and total borrow is basically 1-to-1. So you can't withdraw. So if you have some funds in here, until someone deposits in here, you can't get out. So if you have funds on Cream Finance, you're basically roasted. It's in a similar situation to Scream Finance. If you take a look, Cream's been exploited like 3 times, probably more, like 4 times or 5 or 10. I don't know. They've been exploited a bunch. And if you take a look here, they were basically hacked or exploited by price manipulation of one of the feeds. You can scroll through and see what had happened. So TLDR on what happened here is that the attacker or the hacker, whatever you want to call him, basically did a flash loan of some DAI, and he manipulated the price in the Curves Y pool of Y DAI, making it seem like it was more than it really was. And basically what happened is that the token collateral that was deposited in there or on Cream seemed to be more valuable than it really was, when in reality it was just manipulated by a flash loan. And same thing similar to the other exploits that happen on Cream. This was another one where it had a flash loan, and this was combined with Alpha Finance and their leveraged yield farming protocol. But basically TLDR on this is that they were able to trick the protocol into thinking they deposited more than they really deposited using a flash loan. And yeah, they did have some other hacks as well on Cream. We also had a similar hack with Lodestar Finance on Arbitrum. It was using Chainlink oracles for all of its price feeds with the exception of PLVGLP. So basically the same situation with this is that the hacker manipulated the price of the collateral, making the protocol seem to think it was worth more than it really was, and they were able to get a loan larger than what was really there. Now what happened? Well, there was a bunch of bad debt left on Lodestar. And what did they do? Well, they decommissioned V1 and started a new protocol. Again, this is typically what happens. It's just like the bad business that has bad debt or is underwater. They go bankrupt and start a new business. Now, there is one protocol that didn't take this avenue of going bust or at least getting bad debt and starting a new protocol. And that's Aave. Aave is one of the biggest money markets in crypto. And Aave, they had an exploit from Aave, is what they nickname him on Twitter. And basically he was trying to create a bunch of bad debt on Aave by making Curve being unable to be liquidated on a DEX. Why? Because the liquidity is not there. So let me show you what this means by having a lot of slippage and unable to liquidate the position for Curve. Let's say, for example, I don't know, I got a loan of like $4 million on Curve. Just call it whatever. In order to liquidate this position, what would happen on Aave is the Curve would be liquidated and then would need to be sold to repay the USDC or whatever that debt position was. So let's say, for example, I don't know, it was $4 million in Curve. So we're just going to say in USDC terms, and we're going to show you guys the slippage. By the way, I like to use Firebird because it just gives the best prices, and you also get some cash back for this, so it's pretty sweet. But as you can see here, if we were to swap, let's just call it 400,000 or 4 million in USDC to Curve, there would be how much slippage? Yeah, a lot, 92%. So the price of 1 USDC would equal 0.112 Curve. It would basically be massive slippage. Now on the opposite side, if we were to sell, let's just call it 2.7 million, 1 Curve would basically equal 7 cents. What's the current price of Curve? Well, it's 68 cents. So there would be massive slippage and you would really be unable to liquidate that position on Aave. As you can see here on Aave, there's about $2.28 million worth of Curve right here. So if that ever did get into a situation to where the Curve or CRV token would need to be liquidated, there's really not enough liquidity to make that happen. Now, these are just a couple of the money market protocols that run that risk or have that risk of having bad debt in the system. There are other protocols where you can actually isolate this risk into the pool itself. An example of that is Taro. So if you go on to Taro, which is basically a leveraged yield farming protocol, you can actually get some pretty high yields on this. However, there is still risk in this situation. If you take a look here, you can see here there is 58K in USDC that is basically locked up. Why? It's because this position of USDC and OXD or 0XD, whatever you want to call it, was unable to be liquidated in a prompt time, leaving bad debt into the system. And there was most likely not enough liquidity on chain in order to liquidate this position. So there's a bunch of people or anyone who deposited into this vault, they basically have their money stuck and they can't withdraw unless someone else deposits, which is not really likely. Because, I mean, sure, they can chase after this 450% APR, but they won't be able to withdraw from the vault. Why? Because there is no liquidity there. The utilization is 100%. So they would basically be landlocked. So this video wasn't made to be a doom and gloom type of thing. It was more so one of those things, just be careful what you deposit into and understand the risks you're taking on. There's a reason why people like to use something like Aave because they have been proven, and even when they are proven, things like the Curve exploit can happen, and there are issues. However, for Aave, they did eat that loss, and they took care of that, but that is just something to keep in mind. Just imagine if it was hundreds of millions of dollars. What would happen? As always, it's best to be diversified and distribute amongst several different DeFi protocols. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. In the comments below, tell me where you had an exploit or where you saw an exploit and you're like, nah, bro, I'm not depositing. It always helps to learn from mistakes, so there's nothing wrong with sharing your mistakes. If you guys want to jump in the private Discord, there's a link in the description below. It's the Patreon link. If you guys want to support the channel as well as be a part of the Wisdom One-Liner Collective, it is the channel NFT. You guys can mint one here, and 50% of the proceeds will go to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. This collection is meant to engage the community, have a fun experiment, and help a couple of kids out. Let's hit you guys with a wisdom one-liner. Proverbs chapter 10, verses 9. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. Be good, be righteous, keep your integrity.